This content is AI generated for informational purposes only and should not be directly used for clinical decision-making.
Hello and welcome back to the Neurosurgery Hub podcast. I'm Dr. Aris, Senior Attending Neurosurgeon.
And I'm Dr. Alara, Research Fellow. Today we're looking at a fascinating new study from the journal World Neurosurgery, published in 2026, titled Vision Outcomes Following Endoscopic and Microscopic Transsphenoidal Resection of Sellar Parasellar Lesions, a systematic review of the literature.
This is a topic that sits at the very heart of what we do in pituitary surgery. For decades, the goal of transsphenoidal surgery has been the decompression of the optic apparatus. But as the abstract points out, the techniques have evolved significantly. We've moved from the traditional sublabial or transnasal microscopic approach to the increasingly dominant purely endoscopic technique.
Exactly, Dr. Aris. And the primary objective of this systematic review was to summarize those visual outcomes, and perhaps more importantly, to evaluate how these outcomes are actually being reported across the current literature. It's one thing to say a patient improved, but it's another to quantify that in a way that allows for a rigorous comparison between the endoscopic and microscopic cohorts.
That's a critical point for our residents listening. When we talk about sellar and parasellar lesions, whether we're dealing with a non-functioning pituitary adenoma or a craniopharyngioma, the primary indication for surgery is often the threat to the visual pathways. Dr. Alara, how did the authors define the scope of this evolution in their review?
The study emphasizes that transsphenoidal surgery for the resection of pituitary neoplasms has undergone a major transition. By looking at the literature globally, they sought to determine if the increased visualization provided by the endoscope, specifically that wide-angled, close-up view of the suprasellar space, actually translates into superior visual recovery compared to the microscopic approach.
In my experience, the microscope provides excellent depth perception, but the endoscope allows us to look around the corner at the relationship between the tumor, the optic chiasm, and the carotid arteries. What did the systematic review find regarding the outcomes between ETSS, endoscopic transsphenoidal surgery, and MTSS, the microscopic version?
The review looked at the pooled data for visual field improvement and visual acuity. While both techniques are highly effective for decompressing the optic chiasm, the study highlights that the endoscopic approach often shows a trend towards better visual field recovery, likely due to that enhanced visualization of the diaphragmatic descent. However, a major focus of this paper wasn't just the results, but the heterogeneity of the data.
That's a common hurdle in neurosurgical research. If one center uses Snellen charts and another uses automated perimetry like a Humphrey visual field, it's hard to draw a definitive conclusion. Did the authors find a lack of standardization?
Precisely. One of the key goals of the study was to evaluate how these outcomes are reported. They found that while improvement is a high-level metric, there is a significant lack of uniformity in how surgeons report postoperative visual success. This makes it difficult to conduct a high-powered meta-analysis. They are essentially calling for a more standardized way to document visual outcomes in sellar surgery.
This is a vital takeaway for our fellows and residents. When you are documenting your post-op results, whether for a paper or just for the clinical record, the fascinating part of this study is the realization that our literature is only as good as our reporting standards. If we want to prove that the endoscopic technique is superior for vision, we need standardized metrics.
It also touches on the parasellar aspect. When tumors invade the cavernous sinus or extend far into the suprasellar space, the study notes that the reporting of cranial nerve outcomes and visual outcomes becomes even more varied. The systematic review underscores that for these complex sellar-parasellar lesions, the choice between microscopic and endoscopic approaches often depends on the specific anatomy, but the data recording must be consistent.
So, to summarize for our listeners, transsphenoidal surgery has evolved. The endoscopic approach is a massive part of that evolution, and while visual outcomes are generally excellent across the board, the neurosurgical community needs to do a better job of reporting these outcomes in a standardized fashion to truly understand which technique offers the best chance for our patient's sight.
Exactly. It's a call to action for better data to match our better technology.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you, Dr. Alara, for breaking down this 2026 systematic review from World Neurosurgery.
Thank you, Dr. Aris. It was a pleasure.
To our listeners, stay curious and keep operating. We'll see you next time on the Neurosurgery Hub podcast.